Hey guys, welcome to Fitness Facts. Today we have the privilege of being here with Gidget Migliaccio, NPC fitness competitor, fitness model, life coach, and also celebrity fitness trainer. So so we're just gonna dive right in and ask her a few questions. Just see what she does and how she handles like her everyday life, and also just kind of what advice she would give to aspiring fitness models and fitness competitors as well. All right, so just taking a look at you and just like having talked to you for a while now, like how do you keep in shape year round?
I just try to practice consistency as far as my diet goes and my training program. I really don't have like off seasons or seasons that I'm training for a competition where I'm more strict about my training and dieting. I just try to keep it the same level.
Oh, really?
And dieting is really important. So, for me, 80% of it is dieting. So it's just about maintaining, a lot of muscle,
Right.
throughout the year, and then keeping my fat low. And pretty much just going from there, just doing that consistently, not up and down, just
Right.
based on a competition.
So what's your diet like? I mean, is it?
It's pretty much, I try to do a combination of, anything from 40 to 60% protein.
Right.
And then I'll go up and down with my fats, anything from 20 to 40% of my fats.
Okay.
And then my carbohydrates, I try to keep them pretty low. So I will do, mostly I try to get my carbohydrates from complex carbs and from vegetables.
Okay.
And that's about 20%.
All right, 20%. All right. So how about today? So give us like what you eat today and like what's like I want a detailed list of what you actually eat.
Was today a good day? No, actually, today I woke up this morning and I pretty much have the same thing for breakfast.
Okay.
I love it. So I make a big pot of oatmeal, and in my oatmeal I put flaxseed. I have walnuts. I like walnuts.
Okay. Walnuts are great. I've already done a video on walnuts.
I'm a big walnut fan. And then I put, I like shredded coconut. That's optional. There's really no health benefits, not that many health benefits to the shredded coconut that I put in it.
It's great flavor though.
It does taste good, and it has a little weird texture. I don't know what it is.
Right. Okay.
And then some cranberries, and because I'm older, I tend to like having soy milk.
Okay.
But if you're younger, most younger women, have high levels of estrogen, so they don't need the extra soy. So then I would recommend cashew milk or almond milk.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely something I didn't know. I mean, so you don't need the extra soy just if you're younger. So.
Yes.
Okay.
Because you don't need the extra estrogen. So I have that, and then I'll either put a scoop of vanilla protein powder in that to get my protein. And if I want to break from the protein powder, I'm going to do scrambled egg whites.
Okay.
So I have a combination of the two together.
So that's what you had for breakfast, and then for lunch, did you have something already, or?
Yes, I did. For lunch, I had some grilled chicken.
Okay.
And just a big salad. I love big salads with just everything in them. I put avocado and almonds and cranberries, and I like to make my own salad dressing. So my own salad dressing is usually balsamic vinegar with some seasonings in it and olive oil.
Okay, so this is not store-bought,
Yeah.
it's like you mix it yourself.
Yeah, with store-bought stuff, I'm worried about vinegar, because just vinegar is really tough on my digestive system because of the yeast. It's very high in yeast.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I tend to try to stay away from store-bought dressings because of the yeast.
Okay, I see. All right, and so now this diet it actually sounds really healthy. So
It's good so far, right?
Yeah, it's great so far.
Let's see what I had after that.
Okay. Oh, right. Okay. We're still dinner. So you do this year round.
Year round, yeah.
Year round. And do you ever kind of change up your diet,
I try to eat consistently. I want to give myself, all the vitamins and nutrients that my body needs to repair and regenerate itself on a daily basis. And, all the protein that I need to sustain the muscle mass that I need. I don't have a lot of muscle mass, it's not that big a deal. But I want to keep what I have. I don't want to go up and down, and I don't want to do that with my weight either, it's not as fat goes. So I just want to be consistent with everything. And I feel in order to keep my body consistent, I have to keep my eating habits consistent. It's the number one thing that will make a big difference with the way that I look and the way that I feel is my eating.
Okay, all right. So you don't really change your diet throughout the year, and so what do you think about, like kind of like the latest diet craze where everything seems to be low carb. It seems that everyone's saying carbs are the enemy. And also, what about like something like the Atkins diet or the ketogenic diet? I mean, have you tried any of those diets before?
I've always read about all the other different diets out there, and I think it just depends on what you want.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to gain muscle, if you're trying to just maintain where you're at, if you want to increase your energy levels or endurance levels, then I think every diet has kind of got its own little gimmick and specific to whatever it is you want to achieve. So you have to tend to look at that diet and see if it really suits your needs. I have a lot of different issues. So, not issues, but growing up in Africa, I grew up a very, very clean, healthy lifestyle. So the simplest of things upset my digestive system. So a lot of diets for me don't really work, So I actually really have something that's very specific to what works for me, as far as no gluten, no wheat, no starch, very low sugar.
Wow.
And there's, even in all those diets I found, none of those diets specifically work for me. And that's the important thing, I think, is getting to know yourself, getting to know how your body works, and then customizing a diet based on all the information that's out there, with all the different diets. They all have good things about them, and using different things from those diets for your needs and for your body.
Okay. So, have you yourself tried a very low carb diet?
I have, but I'm not a big fan of low carb diets because it's the body and the brain's number one source of energy. So, and I understand if you want to lose fat and you want your body to go into ketosis, it's a good way to do it. But I've never really had the issue of wanting to lose fat because I've always been pretty lean, so I'm lucky.
Yeah, well, obviously, come on.
But I also feel like a lot of times when you cut carbohydrates out of your diet, that's when your blood sugar drops drastically. And when your blood sugar drops drastically, that's when you have a tendency for all these cravings to sink in. And the number one thing that the body is going to crave is going to be the fastest source of energy that you can give it. And that's going to be in the form usually of carbohydrates, simple carbohydrates. And sometimes if also another thing, if you're dehydrated, which is if you're not eating, a lot of times if you're not eating correctly, you're also not drinking a lot of fluids. So then you're going to crave salt, and that's going to be all those other types of carbohydrates, which is the salty carbohydrates as far as the chips and the snacks, and then the sweet carbohydrates. The bottom line is that they both break down the carbohydrates. And your body's going to crave the fastest source of energy. It's not, your body doesn't have, or your mind doesn't have the ability to say, hey, I'm really hungry right now, can you please get me a grilled piece of fish or a grilled chicken? It's just going to go back intuitively to what you've given it in the past before that it got that energy source from, because it's your subconscious mind that you're reacting from. It's not your conscious mind. So, on a subconscious level, you're going to pick up that food item that's the fastest source of energy. So that's why I think it's important to keep carbohydrates in your diet, to stop your blood sugar dropping and to stop those cravings from settling in.
Right, yeah. I definitely understand what you're talking about, just because like I personally have tried a whole bunch of different diets, and I've done everything from a ketogenic diet to low carb to just kind of like bodybuilding, like split from like 40% protein, 30% carbs, 30% fat, and just seeing how my body reacts. So I can definitely agree with you that it's just really what you're trying to do, how your body responds. So do you always eat healthy, or do you kind of like have cheat meals, or do you just all that is bad?
No way. Well, I don't believe in cheat meals. I believe in I don't believe in cheat meals, but what I do believe in is consistently eating healthy and providing your body with all the nutrients that it needs. And then at the same time, if you want to enjoy a piece of chocolate cake or you want to enjoy some of your favorite foods, definitely enjoying them, but knowing how and when to enjoy them.
Oh, so wait, so you're saying, having a piece of chocolate really isn't a cheat meal, but it's a cheat item. Is that really what that's called? So what do you mean by knowing how and when to use them?
Okay, I'll give you an example. So for example, like if I need to go to the gym in the morning and I wanted something that's a little sweet, I might choose to have it in the morning before I go to the gym, because that sugar is going to go straight into my bloodstream within 40 minutes, and I'm just going to burn it off at the gym. If I'm going to go to dinner at night with some friends, a lot of people make the mistake and they eat their salad first, then they have their steak and potatoes or whatever they choose, and then they have their dessert. Well, you have a certain amount of enzymes in your body to digest the foods that you're eating. And salads and raw veggies and fruits have their own enzymes, so they're able to digest and process themselves, you know, with the help of all the other digestive enzymes you have. But, and then you get to the meats, so all the enzymes that you've been releasing in your mouth and your stomach are now digesting the salad. Then you get to your meat and potatoes, which really do need the enzymes, and you've already used most of them up on the salad. And then at the end of that, you get to the dessert. By then your enzymes and stuff are depleted, and now you've got the worst thing that you're putting into your body, which you need to digest and break down, and that's the fats and the sugars that you're eating. So you're better off going, if you want to have a dessert. For me, I love to go in the afternoon, and I love to have coffee and a piece of cake with my girlfriend. And I'll take a digestive enzyme with that, and then I'm going to burn it off. I'm going to help digest it, process it, and then burn it off by being out for the rest of the day, not going to bed after a big dinner.
Oh, I see. Okay, all right. See, the way that I guess I handle my cheap items, okay, they're really cheap meals, okay, is that I'll have them, you know, and then I'll just go work out. I mean, is that something that I can do, or should I have my cheat meal after my workouts, in your opinion?
I think definitely before your workout, but it depends. It depends on what kind of a cheat you're having.
Okay.
But if it's going to be more sugary type, simple carbohydrate type of cheat, then definitely before your workout, have your cheat meal and then go work out.
Okay.
And you know, mentally, you know, some people mentally the cheat meal thing works. So I'm not going to, you know, give everybody a hard time on it. But I feel like if you consistently have little bits of things that you enjoy, you know, throughout the day, your little treats, then you're not going to need that treat meal at the end of the week, and you're not going to be all, you know, anxious to get it and then go crazy and eat up a bunch of food in one setting. You know, so for me, my things throughout the day is, you know, I want to have a little bit of sugar throughout the day because obviously I love my sugar. So instead of having the chocolate and the junk food that doesn't have any, you know, nutrients in it, I've chosen where I say to myself, I can have 3 pieces of fruit. And, you know, even though most people wouldn't think that's a cheat.
You call it
in my mind, I think it's a cheat because of the sugar. So I get offended.
You can probably see my eyes get wide right there. Is it? Oh yeah, fruit, cheat meal. Okay, all right, Gidget, whatever. I'm sorry, but keep going.
I know, it sounds funny. But you know, the body will sneak sugar in any way it can. It will sneak that sugar in, and you know, having the sugar in, you know, for instance, an apple is just as bad as having the sugar in a candy bar. You know, it's just all simple carbohydrates and sugar, but you get a few more nutrients in an apple. But there's other things, fruits out there that you don't get that much, you know, nutrients from. So for me, I have my cheat meals are the apple and the banana, and you know, those are my 2 cheats throughout the day. But I do love chocolate. I do love chocolate. And yeah, I do love it, and I do have it, and I do. But I try to have it in the daytime so that I can burn it off, and I don't have it late at night, you know, after a big meal.
So let's talk about supplementation. Is there anything that you take yourself personally, such as, you know, protein or like, you know, vitamins?
I guess I like to separate my supplements into 3 categories because I love taking supplements. So the supplement categories I like to separate into my vitamins and minerals. And then I also like to get my greens, and obviously your greens have a lot of your minerals in it, but I like to make sure that I'm having extra greens as far as fresh organic greens, or fresh like greens from like veggie juices.
Oh, I see.
Does that make sense? Plus, because the vitamins and minerals don't come from the actual greens, the like veggies, and you don't get the enzymes and all the other good stuff that you get with it. And then the 3rd category I will say is probably what a lot of like competitors and stuff would call their supplements, which is protein, carnitine, creatine, arginine, glucosamine, you know, and all that stuff is pretty much responsible for helping your muscle, you know, when you tear it down, you want to repair it and build it back stronger, keeping it hydrated, keeping it flexible, keeping a lot of water in it. So those are the other supplements.
I see. Okay. All right. So let's say I'm you know, kind of like your average Joe that's going into the, you know, supplement store looking for a protein. Okay. So what should I be looking on the ingredients list?
The thing with what I would call, you know, the bodybuilding, or people that like to train, anyone that likes to train in the gym, the types of supplements that they take as far as the protein powder and all the other ones, and you branch in amino acids, glutamine, all of that. The number one thing that I would say to look out for, especially the protein powders, is you want to find one that's very natural, that doesn't have a lot of the junk that they're putting in it. And the number one junk thing that I don't like in protein powders is sugar. And not so much sugar, but artificial sweeteners. The alcohol sweeteners and all the other artificial synthetic sweeteners that they put in it. And then on the label, they'll advertise, low carb or 2 grams of sugar.
Right.
2 grams of table sugar, the trademark name, table sugar, yes. But then they'll load it up with all the artificial sweeteners. And for me, the bad thing with artificial sweeteners is, number one, it's confusing to the general public because they think that there's no calories associated with it. And artificial sweeteners are a synthetic product, so there are no calories associated with it. So, but once the artificial sweetener enters your body, it has the exact same reaction that regular table sugar has.
Really? So you're saying something like aspartame or sucrose or something like that?
Anything that, number one, ends in OSE, you want to avoid.
So even though theoretically there's no calories associated, it still raises your blood sugar?
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
Still, pretty much bypasses your digestive system and spikes your glucose levels pretty drastically.
Oh, wow.
Which in turn ends up storing fat.
So,
and it's the misconception that people have, that they're buying, low-calorie, sugar-free items.
Right.
Low calories because they don't put the calories on the label, and sugar-free as in the table sugar. But if you look at the actual label, the actual content in the label, it's where they sneak in all the artificial sweeteners. So if it tastes sweet, it's got. It's impossible for it to taste sweet and not have artificial sweeteners in it. And you're better off buying products that don't have the artificial sweeteners in it. Because there's so many bad artificial sweeteners on the market. It's so confusing to try to figure out which ones are decent and which ones are going to cause cancer, literally brain cancer. So it's better off to just avoid the artificial sweeteners and add your own sweeteners in it. The thing with artificial sweeteners too, the reason that the food companies want to use them so much is because they're so much sweeter than actual table sugar.
Right.
So a very little bit goes a long way. And they're a lot cheaper to manufacture. So you're better off just eliminating them because you end up consuming more artificial sweeteners as far as calories go once they're in your body than you will with real table sugar. And you're better off supplementing it with natural sugars, like low glycemic sugars, like, my favorite, not to pitch it, is agave, but I do like brown sugar, and I love honey. So.
Do you have the same workout routine throughout the year, or do you kind of switch off between sets of routines throughout the year?
As far as my workouts go right now, before I used to do all this overall body conditioning workouts, where I wanted to maintain my, strength and agility and my muscle mass.
Right.
But because of the bikini division that I'm competing in, I'm getting too much muscle on my upper body.
Really?
So I haven't trained upper body in 2 years, and that's kind of been a little bit of a bummer for me.
All right, well, wait, you haven't trained upper body in 2 years and you look like alright. Alright.
All diet.
Wow.
And I can literally go to the gym and pick up some weights, and within 2 weeks just be really pumped and ripped, because of the muscle memory. But it's right now I'm just focusing all on my lower half,
I see.
But do more conditioning training on my upper half. I have to kind of still keep it there, but not any building.
Okay. So this question is going to be more geared towards the fitness community. Okay. So what do you see fitness competitors do that you think is a major mistake?
The number one thing that fitness competitors do, and this is for a lot of them out there, that I've seen is they push themselves extremely hard, go on these crazy diets, very lean diets, and to try to get ready for a competition prep that they might set for themselves, which might be 12 to 16 weeks. And then after the competition, they just fall apart. A month later, you'll see them and they'll have gained 10, 15, 20 pounds, and you can't see any muscle definition or muscle mass like you could before, and they're not as lean as they were. So. Wait,
this is for both the men and the women?
Men and women. This is the one consistent thing that I've seen with a lot of competition, with a lot of competitors. It's, I feel like I want to always be ready to go on stage.
Right.
I don't want to just be ready because I'm going on stage and, on a competition. I always want to be stage ready.
So let's just say you have a competition, I don't know, maybe
if I have to step on stage in a week, I'm ready.
Oh wow. Wow.
And it might not be the case for like bodybuilders that have to put on a lot of mass.
Right.
I mean, and I think like also a lot of figure competitors that have to keep a lot of muscle on and have to be very lean. But I think it's the extremeness that I've seen as far as competitors putting on fat and losing their muscle mass has been extreme, in the off season, instead of finding a way to balance it off where they're more consistent with their diet, because it should be a lifestyle. It shouldn't just be a 16-week competition prep.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you that it should be like so. So, like for me personally, I personally never really want to be a bodybuilder or just like,
No men's physique.
no men's physique. But maybe about 10 years ago, I wanted to be, just be bigger, because back then I was about 210 pounds and now I'm like about 190. But for me to be 210 pounds, it was just such a struggle for my body to hold on to that muscle. So I was just consistently eating, having to just really eat every few hours and just trying to hold on to the muscle. So now that I've gotten older, it's just much more about health and feeling good, and also obviously looking good as well. But just focusing more on the health aspect. And so that kind of leads me to the next question. So you're saying that it's really a mistake for these competitors to go on these extreme diets and just kind of go up and down. I mean, do you think that's just really stressful on their bodies? Why that's a mistake? Or is it more coming from a competing standpoint where that they kind of maybe rush into things and then they never really get dialed in for the competition?
Yeah, that's another thing. I think if you're consistent with your eating and your dieting and your training, I should say, then you're going to be consistent with the results that you get. The extremeness that comes at the end to get ready for a competition, and you have a specific date that you have to be on stage, and you're pushing yourself really hard to lose the extra fat, gain the extra muscle. What happens is the last week of the competition, I watch a lot of people do all this crazy carb depleting, sodium depleting, and messing with all the the electrolytes in their bodies, and to get the results that they need when they step on stage. I feel like, and again, I'm not talking about the male bodybuilders because they go to much more extreme levels because they really do have to shred all the excess water in their body for their muscles to pump. But in general, I think the last week should be kind of eased into the competition, and I think people that are doing all these crazy things are doing it because they're not ready yet, and they're trying to force their body that last 1 or 2 weeks to push it to the max to get it ready. I think that's bad as far as competing goes.
If you could give one piece of advice to just the aspiring fitness competitors out there, what would you tell them?
If you're an aspiring fitness competitor or bikini competitor, I would say get your body ready. Do it the healthy way. As far as training and dieting, and then pick a competition. Don't pick a competition date and then force your body to get ready for that competition date and then do all these extreme things to get ready. Because right after that competition, your body's just going to fall right back out. And then every time you need to get ready for a competition, you're going to have to do these extreme things and you get caught up in this vicious cycle. This 16-week competition prep, it's to go out there and compete. It's not realistic unless you're drastically pushing your body.
Wow, that's definitely. What you're saying is just like, you should think about getting your body in gear before you pick that definitely makes sense. I mean, these are things I've never actually thought about just because, never thought about competing before, but that's a really interesting insight. So, wow, that is definitely a lot of wisdom that you dropped today. So, I mean, all I can say is thank you for your time today, and thanks for coming on to Fitness Facts to just share your experience, your wisdom. And thanks a lot, guys, for watching, and hopefully we can have Gidget on again next time. So, see you guys later.